Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dee Ryan. I'm the CEO of Limerick Chamber, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here to this careers information session in conjunction with Limerick Chamber Skillnet. Before I welcome our panel and introduce you to who is joining us this afternoon, I just want to draw your attention to the chat function at the bottom of your screen, where my colleague Caoimhe Maloney has dropped in a little message to welcome you. If you have any questions or if anything occurs to you or anything you'd like me to put to the panel through the session today, can I invite you to please pop that in there into the chat function. And we have some time allotted at the end of our session this afternoon to put those questions to the panel. We've had a couple of run-throughs internally ourselves, and we've shaped this event to be as high impact and informative as possible. So I really hope that you take a lot out of the session today. But if there are questions that occur to you afterwards, please feel free to contact either myself, Dee Ryan in Limerick Chamber, or my colleague Annette Leamy in Limerick Chamber Skillnet. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panel this afternoon, and joining us today on behalf of 3 Ireland is Ali Corbett, Recruitment Coordinator with 3. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
We have Gary Kelly. Gary is a Managed Service Executive with 3. Thanks, Gary. And my own colleague, Annette Leamy, who is our Skillnet Manager with Limerick Chamber Skillnet. Hi, Annette. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Now, folks who are joining us today and logging in or watching back this video, you may have come across our advert locally in the Limerick Post and the Limerick Leader, or on Live 95 FM promoting the event today, or indeed you may have seen it in some of our social media channels. In particular, we're trying to reach those who have found themselves displaced as a result of the pandemic, and people who are, coming available and looking for employment. Perhaps you're coming from the retail sector, perhaps you're coming from the hospitality sector. And the purpose of this session for you this afternoon is to talk to you and give you a sense of what opportunities there might be for employment in a customer contact setting in the Midwest. To give you an idea from Gary of what it might be like to transition from one of those sectors into a customer contact setting, and to give you an idea from Ali of what exactly the recruitment agents and the internal recruiters are looking for from candidates who are putting themselves forward, and to talk to my colleague Annette about what supports we can offer you through Limerick Chamber Skillnet to help you put the best application forward possible when you're taking that step into your new career. From a Midwest perspective, there are many, many companies recruiting in this space in the Midwest. We've got members in the National Technological Park, such as 3 out in Castletroy. We've got members in Raheen Industrial Estate. We've got members in Roxborough. We've got members in Shannon and Ennis. And indeed, there's companies recruiting for customer contact service workers in the city centre. So there are many opportunities in the Midwest on an ongoing basis for roles in this area. So after giving you that little bit of a background info, I'm going to jump straight in, and I'm going to turn to you first, Alison. Ali, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your own workplace, 3, and the scale of it, how many people you've got there, and what operations are like.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So look, a little bit of backstory on me, guys. I am relatively new to the 3 family. Now, I joined in 2018 and I've seen the business evolve over time. So when I joined the Customer Care Executive Centre, originally there was 400 employees, and now we're up to about 450 employees, just under that, who are based out of Limerick. I'm not sure if you're all aware, but we also have 33 retail stores and our head office based up in Dublin. But for today, I will focus on our call centre in Castletroy. So guys, in terms of the employees there, we just have under the 450 on site. It seems absolutely manic not to be around all of those lovely people at the moment and kind of working from home. But in terms of the things we look after in the Limerick Centre, guys, so I suppose Gary will touch on this a little bit later, but we have our customer care executive role. So that would be along consumer voice, which means you're dealing with customers over the phone. We also have a social media team as well, who'd be dealing over kind of web, text, Twitter, all of that good stuff. We have a community team, which is a new team within our business, kind of unassisted channels, the use of chatbots, kind of seeing how we can improve our customer experience. Then we also have a variety of teams teams, guys, I suppose in and around telesales. We have some kind of real-time roles, planning roles. We have a technical service desk, and that is only on the first floor. So then we move up to the second floor of our building, and we have our business team. So we have business consumer or business care, which would be similar to consumer care, which is the voice channel again. We also have an SME team, a key account team, managed services team. So there's quite a variety of roles within the centre, guys. And it's something I learned coming into the business, not being from a call centre background, that I suppose the variety that's there, the opportunities that are within our teams to kind of move and progress. And again, guys, Gary's going to take you on a little bit of a journey later of his own journey within our own centre. I suppose, guys, on a day-to-day, I remember the first day when I walked into that call centre and I was a bit overwhelmed thinking, oh God, I've never worked in a contact centre. What's this going to be like? I came from pharma and engineering backgrounds. But I suppose, guys, I went in that revolving door, and from the minute I went in there, it was smiling faces. It was people laughing. And for the first kind of couple of days, I was like, do I know these people? People are saluting me and saying hello. So we have this really warm, vibrant, energetic type of atmosphere that really welcomes people into the centre. And I think that really helps you settle into the call centre. Is yes, we're there to work very hard, but we also play very hard. We have fun, we have the banter, we have a bit of crack, we keep things lighthearted, and you'll see Gary there laughing at me, guys. But I suppose this is kind of our day-to-day life, and for me it was so interesting moving into a contact centre and kind of the preconceived notions I had of what this would be like, and then actually experiencing it and seeing, no, this is a completely different thing than what I thought it would be. So I suppose the key things for me, guys, is the people we work with in 3, they are fantastic. They are second to none. If you ask any of our employees, they'll all say the same thing. They all have that one go-to person or that really warm and friendly experience that they had when they joined 3. Outside of that, guys, we are fast-paced. We do work very, very hard, but it's kind of an energizing type of thing. It's very vibrant. It's very motivational, being around people who are like-minded and task-driven. So that's kind of a small lowdown on the call centre in 3, guys. But I suppose it's a place I'm very proud to work in, and I suppose it's an industry that I'd never considered, or a type of industry I'd never considered, because for myself, guys, as well, for any of you out there who come from the hospitality world, that's exactly where I came from. And I was like, right, can I transfer these skills to another industry? So just what I'd say, guys, is in terms of a contact centre, be open-minded. It's not always what you expect it to be.
Ali, thanks a million. That's great. You've really given us a sense of the energy. Now, I've been to your particular location, and it was lovely. I was impressed. It is quite large. So 400 in non-COVID times, about 450 people on site. Is that what
Yeah,
you?
so 450 on site, but I suppose, guys, as you well know, COVID has changed quite a bit for us over the last year. So at the moment, in terms of, I suppose, how we're working with site at the moment in terms of safety and everything, is we're actually working, you'll see myself, guys, I'm currently working from home. Gary is in the office today, so we kind of have new rules and regulations around that in terms of social distancing, how many people we can have on site. So with that side of things, what our business did very, very well is they responded quickly. We started a weekly rolling 1 week in the office, 1 week from home, to kind of allow us have yourself the space for social distancing. I don't know about yourselves, guys, in your own office, but we did have 450 people on site, and when you put that 1.5 meter, 2 meter rule in, you've really lost an awful lot of space. So 3 were really proactive in terms of kind of making sure we all were safe at work. We had what we needed to work through COVID, and I suppose I'm quite thankful that they did respond so quickly and so pragmatically with us.
And so, in terms of your team members who are working remotely, what's the typical setup at home now for new employees starting, and how do you support them in that?
Yeah, so guys, that's a massive journey that has changed for us. I suppose I took over the kind of customer care recruitment about probably 18 months ago now. So I was coming into my pre-COVID life thinking these are all the processes that are set up. So we really had to start from scratch with those guys, alter, change up how we were doing things. So at the moment, what happens if you were a new joiner joining our business at the minute, what we do is we first of all send you out a training laptop. That'll be for your first week onboarding. So the first week of onboarding is done remotely by our L&D team. You'll have that training laptop, all of your equipment will be sent out. And then what happens is we bring people on site for 3 weeks of what we call coaching bay. Basically what happens there, guys, is you have access to a coach in groups of kind of 3 or 4, and they coach you through your calls, they bring you through systems. It's a little bit more of that personal touch in kind of learning. So we do have a blended learning style, but you would be off site your first week, then on site for 3 weeks, and then you jump into that kind of weekly rotation. Now, as you well know, with COVID, things are subject to change. So hopefully vaccines soon, guys, we'll all be back in the centre again and, drinking coffee and laughing about 2020 and the year we spent inside.
Thanks a million, Ali. Gary, I'll turn to you. Can you tell us a little bit about your own journey? Because you had no prior experience in the contact centre before applying for 3. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I would have started working in retail at 13 years of age. I would have had 15 years experience in retail in a variety of different roles, mainly sales. So after to be honest, it became stale. I got too comfortable after a while. I needed a change. I had a look around. As Ali said, I don't think it's something enough people kind of look at as an option. And then when the opportunity came up, it came out. I met the team leaders in Tree. Really liked the vibe of the place. As Ali said, when you come in, there's a really positive atmosphere. Everybody's in great form. There's always good support for everyone. In terms of the concerns that I would have had regarding moving from retail to working in a contact center, as I said, I'd worked in retail, you're dealing with people face to face. It's quite easy to build a relationship, particularly when it comes to sales or dealing with issues and that. You get a different vibe from people face to face. Whereas my own perception would have been, these people are going to think I'm a robot on the other end of the phone. You're faceless. Would I be able to transfer my skills over to the same level? The other side then is you're looking at the computer literacy, whether you'd be able to pick things up quick enough, regardless of how good your customer service skills are. Are you going to be able to use the systems? And again, it comes down to, are you going to be able to transfer your skills over and be able to do the job adequately? As Ellie said, look, within maybe a week, 2 weeks inside the role, all that was gone. It had disappeared. The support that we have out here it's unbelievable. Fundamentally, you're dealing with good people across the board in all the teams. I don't think people actually realize when you work in a contact center in an office, as Ellie said, there's 450 people. You'd come across people in all different departments. We have teams traveling down from Dublin. We've lads that are out on the road that come in. You might you go through water cooler, you start chatting to someone, then you realize when something pops up, they're actually a really good avenue for support. With regards to like the atmosphere in the office, little things like the year Limerick beat Galway in the All-Ireland, we had teams competitions in here to design your area. I was lucky enough to be on the team. We had a washing line with Limerick here going across. So the banter is encouraged. As Ellie said, we work really hard, but there is kind of a light atmosphere as well. So everyone comes in, and I find it a lot more enjoyable. I'd really struggle to go back to retail having worked in an office environment. And then obviously there's a small bit more structure in terms of hours, whereas retail can be chaotic and you have different periods that are busy. I find the office enjoyment really enjoyable. I could never go back.
That's a great endorsement. And how are you coping now working remotely the last couple of months? How have you found it?
I've been lucky enough to be one of the few that's allowed into the office, and we've to go and work from home. I definitely prefer being in the office with just the banter, just being able to pass people. I thrive off that. I'd be like Ali. I think Ali's cracking up at home there. She loves it.
I'm missing you all.
Yeah. But no, like as Ellie said, in terms of support working remotely, we were set up with our laptops within around March last year. We thought people would be going home for 2 weeks, and we were all kind of laughing, saying I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I haven't seen some people since, but in terms of the support, it's great. We have a Microsoft Teams link for our own team members. The team leaders are available, department managers are available. We can still link in with members of different departments. So the support has been really good. The connectivity and like the laptops that we got set up are state of the art. So I could have no complaints. Tree have made it as easy as they possibly could for us to adapt, and we're very thankful for that because the whole world is changing. So they were kind of put on the spot, and in fairness, they couldn't have reacted much better.
That's great. Good to hear. Ali, can I come back to you? Can I just ask you a little bit about people who might be considering putting an application together for either yourselves or one of the other employers in the region? What tips might you give to somebody who's considering that? And talk to me a little bit about what types of information you'd like to see coming through in their application.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, guys, I've been looking after the customer care recruitment for about 2 years, and there are key things and key themes I've kind of seen there where candidates might be able to elevate, an application or a CV. So guys, I'm going to start off from the CV. I think it's always our starting point. I think an awful lot of us were told years ago, have one generic CV and apply across the board. That doesn't work in today's market. And my biggest advice would be look at your job description, tailor your CV to that job description. You have plenty of skills, particularly coming from, say, the retail and hospitality side of the house. You may have face-to-face customer service skills that can be translated to the contact center. So I would absolutely 100% recommend you to tailor your CV to the role you're applying for. Next up, guys, is another place where candidates can potentially fall down is in terms of their research of the role. So, you may be applying for a customer care executive role with ourselves in Tree, but you might have a very different understanding of what that role actually involves. And I suppose for you to get the best experience and for us to fill the role correctly with the right person and the right talent, you really need to have that understanding of the role. So do your research, look up the website. If you have anyone in your networks, if you know of any friends working in a similar environment, maybe not even that company, reach out to them, have conversations, guys. It's so important. Outside of that, guys, I definitely say focus on I suppose, your motivation or why you want to go for this role. More oftentimes than not, I'm sitting in interviews with really strong candidates and they get a little bit stumped and they're sitting there thinking, well, I want to be working and I want to be doing this, but what's behind that? Why do you want to work with the business you've applied for? Why do you specifically want this role? And really have that hashed out before you're going to apply or you're in that interview situation. And that kind of leads me on to the preparation in general. So I suppose in our personal circumstances, guys, we would always use competency-based interviews. And for that, you need an element of preparation. So competency-based, for anyone on this call who wouldn't be aware, it's an example-based type of interview question. So rather than falling into, if I was in this situation, I would do X, what we look for is, this is a situation I was previously in, this is what I did, and this was the outcome. So put a bit of preparation into those examples. Sit down with the list. I know, guys, recently I had Gary in a process with me and I remember giving feedback and we sat down and we had a list of, here's all the experience I have. Where does this map to? What can I pull over? This is a massive achievement that I have. Why am I bringing this into the interview? So have it scoped out. Have plenty of options for yourself in terms of what's my best side and what do I want to get across. And then finally, guys, in terms of any interview, I suppose, tip that I could share with anyone would always be authentic, be yourself. We could hire your alter ego who said all of the right things. And 6 weeks later, guys, you'll be the one sitting in that chair, not your alter ego. So, bring yourself to the table, particularly in 3. We want to get to know you. We want, the little bits of personality shining through. That's so important to our team. And then I suppose, guys, a small bit on 3 in terms of our process, if people are interested in applying, is, I suppose, what you could expect from our process. It has all gone virtually. We are all online. It's no more interviews in rooms for the moment with COVID. But I suppose if you were to apply in 3, what happens is we've kind of various stages. So initially you'll do an SHL assessment, which basically is an ability assessment, kind of measuring your customer service skills. Then what would happen is, if you've passed that stage, you'll move into a video interview. So it's kind of a pre-recorded video interview, guys. It's new technology that's coming down the line, kind of top of the range. So it's an interesting one. It's something to get used to, really, with the virtual calls and the virtual interviews. It's definitely the way things are going. So there is a pre-recorded video interview kind of as your first round interview. And then we move on to a virtual assessment centre where we assess candidates on an interview and a role play as well.
Ali, sorry, I'm just curious, that pre-recorded video interview, how does that work?
Oh, guys, I love it, right? So basically what happens is a candidate is sent out a link, very like this call, guys. You'll see yourself, you'll be staring at yourself with the screen on. And what happens then, guys, is instead of we used to do phone call interviews, but obviously at the moment people are working, people are minding their kids, people have, different responsibilities that we're all trying to juggle at the moment. It gives our candidates a little bit more freedom in terms of when they have access to our processes. So what happens is, guys, you click on a link, it'll bring you to a pre-recorded video interview. The answers, or I suppose the questions, will come up in front of you for about 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to kind of prepare your answer. Then it will record you for 1.5 minutes. So you have your answer response. You can retake these. You can, restart the question if technical difficulties, guys. We are in the COVID world, so that can happen. But that pre-recorded video interview then is reviewed by all of our team leaders. So in the call center at the moment, we have about 19 team leaders from across all of our teams who we involve in the recruitment process. And it's great to give them all access, I suppose, to view those first round interviews, but also for our candidates to have that kind of technological touch, because that was a phone call previously. And it's great to see our candidates because we aren't meeting them in the traditional sense anymore.
And talk to me a little bit about the type of applicants that you're getting right now. Are you seeing many people coming through from particular sectors, or what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I suppose the trend has always been hospitality and retail definitely make this move, but that volume has definitely increased over kind of the last 12 months or so. And I suppose for us, in terms of transferable skills, it is often our hospitality and retail allies that do fit into these roles because they have that skill set. It is, as Gary said earlier, maybe transferring that from face to face to, over the phone without your body language, your expressions kind of available. But I suppose we are seeing an awful lot from hospitality and retail. And guys, I'd encourage it. The skill set is there. It's developing and honing that skill set rather than building on a brand new skill set. And then outside of that as well, we'd also have quite a few applicants who would be coming from, I suppose, at the moment it's changing quite a bit, but kind of that childcare side of the house as well, and that kind of care piece in general. We're seeing more applicants coming from that industry too. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch to see in 2021 where our applicants are being sourced from.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks so much, Ali. That was great. Annette, can you talk to us a little bit about what we can do in Limerick Chamber Skillnet to support people who are considering applying for careers in this area? Now, Annette, I'm going to say it. You're on mute.
Mute. Sorry, I got muted there. Hello, everybody. Yes, of course, we can. What we're offering at the moment is a customer care fundamentals course, which will allow you or provide you with the essential skills to provide excellent customer service to a variety of roles requiring customer service. So what this does is it will focus in on areas such as what is the importance of voice control when dealing with customers in a stressful situation. It focuses areas on the difference between being assertive versus being aggressive when handling customers. It looks after areas whereby you're handling stressful situations, but you actually have to come to a satisfactory resolution with that customer. The key area of this course is it gives you all the essential skills required to carry out a customer service role, but it also, as an add-on, we have career guidance consultants to assist you in, if you are considering a new role or a new career path, or you're looking or facing redundancy at the moment, that this will assist you in following that path. So what it will do what the career guidance consultants will actually provide you is see how to prepare your CV, and they will look at how to prepare yourself for online interviews. They will look at areas of psychometric testing, which Ali sort of touched off there, where they assess what that is. It's not a scary word. It's just all they're doing is assessing your abilities, your basically your personality traits, your potential academically. What they will do is that will then feed to the employer how you would actually cope under stress, how you process information, how you actually will work with others. So that is an essential part. It's all well and good to do your course, but then it's actually so essential, as Ali had actually said, you need to tailor your CV to the job that you're actually applying for.
And of course, all of the supports, Annette, are geared to helping people identify what area and what career path they'd be best suited to, where they're going to find the most satisfaction themselves, and then we can assist them in identifying where the employers are in that area.
It actually focuses in on your strengths and your interests, and you actually then try and tailor your CV to those strengths and interests.
Okay, just a reminder, folks, attendees on the call today, that we're just coming up to our 5-minute mark. So just to encourage you, if you have any questions that you'd like to put to anyone in the panel or anything that occurs to you, please drop it in there, and we'll try and deal with it here in this session. But Annette, just coming back to you, talk to me about what people could expect in terms of starting salaries or salary range for careers in this area in the Midwest, in the Limerick region.
In the Midwest, the starting salary for anybody entering the customer service call center side of things would be 21,000. And then depending on experience, it would actually work its way up to about 24,500, 25,000.
And of course,
approximately.
Yeah, approximately. And of course, the employers in the area have been here a number of years. Many of them have opportunities for advancement and growth within those companies. Actually, Ali, do you want to jump in there and just tell us a little bit about those kind of prospects and career?
I would love to, but I'm actually going to use Gary as an example here, guys. He's my star pupil, I suppose. But guys, I suppose when I joined 3 again, look, 2 years ago, came into this, didn't really know what I was going for, and I kept hearing about all of this progression, all of this opportunity. I actually can't get over how true it was about 3 as a business. So I suppose when I joined first, guys, I'm kind of at my nearly 2-year mark of my first group of hires, and within my first group of hires from my very original group, that very first January, I suppose of the 10, 8 have moved and progressed into different roles within the 2 years, or done multiple moves. So I suppose I might even get Gary, guys, to talk you through his career to date and kind of the moves he's had. But that's what I would say is, look, 40% of our roles are filled internally year on year, and that's across our business in retail and head office. We very much invest in our people. We want to develop our people. We want to retain our key talent. So for us, I suppose we see it as a win-win to be progressing and kind of developing our internal, growing our own talent, whilst also, I suppose, getting external talent from the market as well. So I suppose, Gary, please bring them on your lovely journey of when you started off with us and where you are to date.
Perfect. So as Ali said, look, the opportunities to progress in Tree, I was told the same thing in my initial interview when I came out and started, and everybody kind of thinks, look, is this true or not? I'm here just under 3.5 years. I would have started in August 2017. I would have started in our business care team, which is Ellie's gone through earlier. You'd be dealing with just business customers across the country, mainly sole traders. They'd have up to maybe 4 connections on the accounts. That role would be mainly call based. You'd literally be taking calls. You might take 30 to 35 calls a day, different queries with bills, etc. I would have progressed from there onto a first-time connection sales team, where I would have used a lot of my experience that I gained in retail in terms of sales. And obviously you're dealing with transferring skills where you can't see someone's body language and you're trying to get a vibe across and create a relationship over the course of a phone call, which I found really, really interesting. That would have been maybe about a year or so into my time at Tree. And just after that, I joined our key account support team, which would be our high profile accounts that we'd have. That role would have been mainly email based. We'd deal with calls. Pre-COVID, we'd get to go and do some customer visits, which was one of my favorite parts of the role. So you'd actually get to go out and meet the customers that you'd have on the road. Those type of accounts would have up to maybe 500 connections. So you're dealing with real high profile accounts. There'd be a couple of different reports that we get. As I said, it was a transition again, where you're used to dealing with people over the phone on calls, where this would be less call based and more email, which look, some people love. I like a conversation. I like a chat. It'd be a bit like Ellie that way. So great. The key difference between the business care and the key account role is when you're in business care, you might deal with someone could ring in, they could be dealing with anyone on the team. Our key account support team, you'd have your own set of accounts. So I would have been responsible for up to 65, 70 sets of accounts. So you with some customers, I'd be their only point of contact. So if there were any issues that popped up, good news, bad news, whatever, I'd be the only person that to deal with. So what was really cool there is the customer visits, where I might deal with someone for 6 months by email or the odd phone call, the odd Teams call, and then you get to go out and see them face to face, which is really cool. You get to go out on the road, travel the country, get to see them, and then obviously from that, then you build a relationship. And when you come back, it really helps within the role, and it helps to develop an understanding of exactly what they need. They have more of an understanding of what we do in our role, and then you kind of come to that nice medium where we know exactly what the customer wants, they know exactly what we can do, and everyone's happy. After that, then I progressed recently through Ellie, thankfully, the hiring manager, who was working with the hiring manager, to our managed service team. So the managed service role is similar to Key in terms of it's email based. However, this is with our elite customer base. So I would be dealing with accounts like the HSC, the likes of ESB, the likes of Facebook, are really, really high profile customers. In this role, then, we're effectively a virtual employee of the company. So what that means is sometimes we might have to go when customers port in, just say when DSB ported in last year, we may be required to work on site, which means we get to go up and meet the customers in DSB base, and maybe once a week for up to 12 weeks, actually work on site, gain an understanding of their business, obviously be there, deal with any teething problems if they're when they're porting in, just be around the place and be able to promote Tree. Again, it's really an enjoyable part. Another key feature of the managed service role is we do a lot more financial analysis. So we'd have accounts which would have maybe 900 to 1,000 to 3,000 mobile numbers with us, whether that's voice, whether it's mobile broadband, whether it's fixed. We'd have Tree Connect services. Again, they're obviously very key. We'd have a support team then that work out on the road from Dublin, and they'd be in charge of maybe sales. We'd have support teams with admin and reports. In the managed service role, we'd put a lot of reports that I would have never dealt with before. Again, it's a learning experience. The support that I've received internally has been absolutely outstanding from my colleagues and from different areas within the business. It's been huge. And I suppose one of the major effects that we've had then with COVID is obviously we're no longer allowed out through customer visits. So we've had to adapt, and now we do a lot of Teams calls, we do a lot of Zoom calls. So we're still checking in with our customers. And as Elia said previously, that it can work both ways with the Teams calls. We're often there with the customers in the background, and they have kids running wild or they have dogs barking and stuff. So it's a new way of learning and a new way of learning to adapt, and I suppose we're all that way, but everyone's really flexible. And look, it's good crack. Like, it's great to be able to, we're in customers, you build a relationship after a couple of months. You're ringing, and they might ring some people, they chat football for a couple of minutes before they get an issue. You really build a personal relationship with the customers, and it's really good. And It's great as you kind of learn and adapt from the first day I came in the door where you're kind of afraid, will I be able to do this? And now you're sitting there and you're dealing with these really high profile accounts, and you're dealing with the key stakeholders within our business and within their businesses. And you're on a first time basis with a lot of people that you would have never expected to come across. And it's like you said, with our customers, the relationship that we build is fantastic. And as it goes on, like, I can't wait. I haven't got to go out and meet some of my customers in the managed service work because I joined in COVID times where I was working from home. So I can't wait for all this to be over and get to go out and meet people face to face and start building, well, if we already have relationships, but just go out and put a face to a name, I suppose, is the key thing.
Oh, thank you, Gary. That's a lovely run through the different roles, and congratulations on your progress to date. No doubt that you haven't reached the top yet. It sounds like there's more scope there for more. Folks, we just have one question. We just have time for one question from the chat box, and I think this might be for you, Ali. It's about the recruitment cycle. What does that normally look like? How frequently?
Okay, so is this in kind of pre-COVID times or currently?
Well, if you could tell us right now, what are things looking?
So guys, I suppose on the recruitment team, our processes are consistent across the board. Now the care process is slightly different because we use that assessment centre function, but across the board, I suppose it's always 2 rounds of interviews. So normally in your first round, you'll meet with the hiring manager, or you might have that pre-recorded video interview, or in retail, you may meet with the store manager. And then in second round, you'd have the hiring manager and a member of the recruitment team joining you there. So I suppose it's always 2 rounds. We do tend to include assessments in most roles at the moment. Now it does vary role to role, whether that's an ability assessment or, as Annette was speaking about earlier, that personality type assessment about your fit on the team. And then outside of that, guys, I suppose the only change that's really happened in COVID is in terms of working from home and kind of having, the correct infrastructure in place. And it may be something to flag with you guys just to be aware of if you are going for roles at the moment or looking in the wider marketplace, is just be sure you have a good Wi-Fi connection. It's become pertinent to our day-to-day lives, and that's something that is being added into our recruitment process, I suppose, is ensuring that, our new employees or our candidates are able to work from home if necessary and have the infrastructure to allow them work from home. So it's just something to flag, guys, that may be asked of you in future recruitment processes where this working from home piece is going to be continuing with us for another little while. But it is always a 2-round process, guys.
Okay, thank you so much, Ali. And Annette,
no problem.
Finally, before we go, the course that we're running in Limerick Chamber Skillnet, how can people get on board that?
Okay, so first of all, I wanted to actually mention earlier on that this course is free of charge. It's fully funded from start to finish, from the customer care fundamentals to the career consultants. So if they want to email me directly at ailimi@limerickchamber.ie, and we will put them on that course for them if they're interested to attend.
Okay. And we'll be circulating all of the contact details for everyone on the call today with a copy of the video after the event. So folks, it just remains for me to say thank you so much to my panel this afternoon, to Ali, Gary and Annette. Thank you everyone for joining us, and to my events manager, Caoimhe Maloney, for facilitating the webinar. I hope that you got a good sense of what it might be like to work in a customer contact centre and of the opportunities. And please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate at all to reach out to either myself or Annette Leamy and Limerick Chamber Skillnet, and we'll do what we can to assist you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And guys, thank you for having us.
Thanks very much.